Hey guys, welcome back to the Grant Mitt Podcast, episode number 95. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about how to attract the right people. No matter what you want to get out of life, no matter what your career goals are, the type of people that you have in your corner, the network that you have, and the people that you are the closest to will alter your life like anything different. And it's important to not only have great discernment, but consistently attract the right people and bring the right people into your corner that can support you and where you can both mutually help each other achieve their goals and live the life that you want. And there's nothing that can slow you down more or run your life faster, including your business, than having the wrong people around you. So I want to break down how to do this. And there's also a lot of misconceptions that are out there. I could tell you early on, just as a person that believes in people, that tries to see the best in them, that's naturally just an optimistic person, I'm sure most of you are the same. I had this desire or gut feeling to where every time I'd meet someone, not only would I see the best version of them, not only would I have wishful thinking of who or what they could become, but I almost, if they weren't doing the right things or they weren't who I needed them to be, I would spend all of this energy and effort not only trying to change them, but hoping and wishing that they were going to be this perfect type of person for me. Whether this was an employee that I was hiring and bringing onto the company, and we wanted them to perform a certain way or have these certain skill sets, whether it's close friends, whether it's acquaintances, business partners, relationships, you name it. And what I learned is you find the right people, you don't create them. The best example of this is think of a sports team, right? When a draft comes around. While there's some people that they do kind of flip a coin on and bet on, they're not going to invest a first round pick in an MLB or NFL or NBA draft on someone that's a question mark, someone that they don't know has the right character, or if they don't have the right experience, or they didn't prove that they could truly be successful in the highest sense. Instead, they're going to vet them in such a detailed way to where every single box is checked because they want to maximize their investment. They want to make sure if they're going to, invest tens and tens of millions of dollars, jobs that will be on the line, the fans that are spending money for every single game, the advertisers that are investing in their team and in the league, that they get the return. And while that's a business, your life works a similar way. If you suddenly meet someone and just because they're good looking or just because they seem smart or went to a great college, you automatically hire them to, manage a portion of your business or as a sales rep or as an accountant or whatever the specific role or job is. And then suddenly they cause massive issues and not only hurt the people around themselves in your business, the customers that you have and the growth of your business, it can jeopardize absolutely everything. So hoping that they're going to become a better person or learn the right skill sets, while people do develop, and I do think that you should, work with people, train them to the best of ability, at the same time, someone is not going to completely alter who they are. There's a saying that I love that is people don't change, they just die. They are who they are meant to be. And while they do adjust a little bit here and there, and while they do grow, we all are learning lessons. We're all imperfect humans. We have to find people who naturally fit the morals, the non-negotiables, and the traits in the people that we want to be around us. And I think the first step to doing this is just stop wasting energy hoping and wishing someone is going to be something than what they are. And a good way to do this is whether you're going into a meeting, whether you're going into an interview, whether you're hiring somebody for a specific role, whether you're dating someone, you can name it. Any of those situations, it's extremely important that you enter it with zero expectation. If you have any sort of wishful thinking, hoping that, well, they got this, what if they do this? What if they change here? What if they could learn this thing? That's when you're starting to make mistakes. That's when you're going to start looking at them with rose-colored glasses and not seeing them for who they actually are. Or many times they'll tell you their intentions. They'll show you, but you'll ignore it because you wish that they were something different. A lot of times, if you just turn off what people are saying, you just look at their actions, who they are and what they want is as clear as day. And that's why any person that's not emotionally invested into that situation can obviously tell you that. Early on when I was playing junior college football, and I'd been around athletes my entire life, and I was going to shift and get into entrepreneurship and starting my own business. I started just diving into growing as a person, developing every area of my life. And what I started noticing very quickly, and I'm sure some of you have experienced the same, is the people around you, they slowly just don't really have the same goals as you, or they don't want the same things out of life, and that's okay. But what starts to happen is you start hanging out with them more and more, and you realize you don't really have much to talk about. Maybe they're doing different things. Maybe they have different things that they want out of life, and it just doesn't feel the right way. So then you kind of have this lonely period where you're like, man, no one's like me. No one wants the things that I want out of life. And this doesn't mean that you're right or wrong or you're any better than anybody else. It's just everybody has different goals and different personalities. And in that waiting period, what typically happens, which I hope some of you guys have experienced, and if you haven't, you will, is you pull away, you start focusing on yourself, and slowly but surely, you start attracting the right people who have the same type of morals as you, that like the same type of things, that are going after ambitious goals like you. And then it just flows naturally. And it's an important lesson to learn if you haven't learned it yet. Like I said, the biggest thing to eliminate the pain associated with that is to stop having expectations and just letting people become themselves. And then the right ones will come and the wrong ones will get out of the way. So I want to break down like 3 easy steps on how to implement this in your life. And it's a plug and play situation. So this doesn't matter what industry you're in, where you live, or what you want to accomplish, what type of people. This is a plug and play situation. It's going to be different than mine. It's going to be different than maybe your best friends. So let's diagnose it, right? So number 1, if it takes an act of Congress, and by act of Congress, if you got to do so much, you got to call them nonstop, text them nonstop, just to surround yourself with them, just to jump on a call, just to grab a cup of coffee, hang out, do anything like that. Their actions are telling you something. If you have a certain way of doing things in life and you're not happy with the way they're doing it, and you're trying to help them and change, and they're not changing, that is on you. It is not our job as people to fix everybody. Yes, you can help someone that wants to be helped if they reach out and they actually ask and they're actually making real changes, but it's not your job. It's your job to provide for your family, be as kind of a person as you can. Yes, help as many people as you can, but there's no purpose of trying to change someone into someone that they're not. So let it flow. I can tell you this is when it's the right fit, it almost feels effortless. I've seen this with hiring. I tell this, I was just having this conversation last night, is that I've learned more about humans and the way people act in psychology from hiring than any other area of business. Because you get to see a vulnerable side of people. You get to see how much money they make. You know everything about their family. You know what they want. You see their struggles. You see how they handle adversity. You see their success. You see these massive emotional swings. So you get to see how people really are. You don't just get to see this cookie cutter version when you see them out with their family, or if they're driving a nice car, they just accomplished. You get to see all sides of them. And I've noticed this with hiring people is that when it's the right fit for the company and it's the right fit for them, it just feels so natural. You don't have to beg someone to do the work. You don't have to tell someone over and over again to be on time. You don't have to teach them all these basic things that they should know just off of basic sheer common sense. They just got it. A players are found, not developed. And I think everyone can assess this no matter what you do and what your skill sets are. Everyone here is incredible at one thing. You have a natural knack for something, some type of skill set. And when you do it, it just feels effortless. It's the same sense when you meet the right person, the right friend group, you hire the right people, you work at the company that is the best fit for you. And that's what you want to start looking for. Be around people where it feels effortless, where it's so natural that you don't have to fight to make something happen. And you can't start having these people in your life and getting them and growing around the right people if you're continuously wasting your energy and time on trying to make the wrong situations work. I can tell you this just from a business owner, and I think this applies to your personal life and relationships as well, is I never regretted firing someone, not once. I'm sure it'll happen eventually, but I can tell you out of every single person that I've ever fired, I've never regretted it. My one regret is that I did not do it sooner. Because the second I fired them, not only was it the right call for the company, but it was the right call for every single other person that was in the organization. What's interesting is every time I fired a couple people that were underperforming, that were toxic, that were negative, that weren't the right fit, the company's production, efficiency, conversions, customer acquisition, everything improved. Almost sometimes, I'll tell you this, I've let go of people that were in a completely different department, and the other department had no idea. And even then, performance went up. It's almost as if they can feel and sense the energy. When you surround yourself with A players, everything gets better. And this is not just financially. This is in relationships. This is in just friendships. Every area. The right people is the cure-all to everything in life. That's why you'll see businesses that are struggling and they'll get a brand new CEO. And then within a year or 6 months, the company explodes and dominates the industry. That's why you'll see a new head coach come in. I'm from Houston, born and raised. For any of you guys that like sports, I've been a Texan fan by default. And until last year, the previous 2 or 3 years was just a complete disaster. They had the wrong coach. Then they had the coach become the general manager, which is the person that handles all the personnel, does all the contracts, all that good stuff, the draft. All they did is they hired an incredible coach that was the defense coordinator of a Super Bowl contending team, who also played for the Texans in the past as a team captain. As a player coach is unbelievable. Then they hired probably the best general manager in the NFL. They used to be with the New England Patriots, if I'm not mistaken. And within 1 year, they had probably the best draft. I mean, time will tell. But in the last 5 years, probably the best draft day ever. Got a monumental quarterback, unbelievable defensive line, picked up some key receivers. And not only did they turn around and make the playoffs, but now they're probably going to be a Super Bowl contending team that got even better. This happened within 1 year. It didn't even take a warm-up year. It happened the first year they were there. Why? Leadership. They didn't go find a general manager that had great potential and then trained them up for 2-3 years while they lost hundreds of millions of dollars and lost all these games. They found a winner. Yes, the coach that they hired wasn't a head coach before, but every single box on his resume was checked. Almost everything. He was unbelievable. It was instant impact the second he walked in those doors. That is what it takes to be happy. So many of my close friends and people I've worked around, business owners I've consulted with, the bulk of the misery and stress that they have in their life is by avoiding the conversations they know they need to have. And a good indicator of this is, the person you think about before you go to bed that just stresses you out? The person that you've dated that one time that just constantly had problems and you're hoping it was going to get better and you talked about it all the time? Or when you're driving home from work, you're on the subway, wherever you are, and you're thinking about the problems in your company or the people around you, and it's always this one person just keeps coming up. And there's some justifiable reason that you put yourself in to, accept the way that they are. That's the conversation you need to have, and that's letting them go, firing them, or pulling away. That will cure the bulk of your problems and stress. And what's great is when you get that energy back, you now can redirect it towards positive growth, being happier, being more successful, and being around better people. And if you cannot make those difficult decisions to pull away from the wrong people, then just being blunt, you just don't deserve the positive things out of life. You deserve to continue to deal with it is because you know what's happening. You just don't have the guts to pull the trigger. And I can tell you this, it never gets easy. It's never easy to fire people or let people go or pull away from a relationship or a good friend, but it's worth it. And you have to make those difficult decisions to build the life that you want, because the confusing part is you think if you let that person go, what are they going to do? Where are they going to work? Who is going to take care of them? And what I've learned is these people have trained or been grown up their entire life understanding how to manipulate people the way that they're manipulating you. They've job hopped from company to company to company, continually doing the wrong things, and they have mastered the art of survival. So trust me, you are an interchangeable character to these people. They'll find another person that gives them even more than you, that they can finesse even more and waste their time. They'll find another group of people to be toxic with. I'm telling you, I don't know how they find it. They could walk outside for 10 minutes and they're going to find these people. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And so you have to make the difficult decision. Okay? Number 2, see people for what they are and eliminate any hope of change. Let them be themselves. The first step to doing this is stop controlling them. Early on in the relationship especially, you're going to get the most authentic version of themselves because they don't know what you believe. They don't know what you're okay or not okay with. While I believe in setting expectations, especially when you're hiring someone for the first time, there's a saying, leave a loose rope. Let the dog kind of wander around and see what it's going to do. See what their clear intentions are. Yes, it's important to set expectations, and there's certain times that you need to do this more than others. But a great way is just let them do their thing. Set the expectations once, real subtly, and just pull away. And what I've noticed, I'll tell you from a business perspective, the go-getters and the right hires, it is evident, a no-brainer. A person that's not even involved in the operation will know, dang, this person's good. They're a hustler. In the same sense for the right relationship. They'll go out of their way to do the little small things that show that not only do they care about you, but they're the right fit. The right friends, you're not going to have to jump through hoops to hang out with them or for them to support you. That's like a no-brainer. Of course they support you. They're your friend. These things happen effortlessly when it's the right person. And realize too, not everyone's perfect. I believe the 80-20 rule, not everyone's going to give you 100% of what you want out of them, and that's okay. But you have to know who you're dealing with, and you have to let them be themselves. Okay, number 3, embody the characteristics that you want to attract. For example, you can't expect a loyal, respectful, kind person if you're the opposite of those things. You can expect to have A players and the most successful people in the world want to surround themselves with you, become friends with you, hang out with you if you're a low performer, if you have excuses, if you're toxic. I could tell you in that moment, remember I was telling you about the past where I kind of pulled away from everyone that I'd grown up with, and I'm still friends with tons of them, and some are just wildly successful. Other of them just went through different paths, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I started really attracting the right people is when I developed myself the most, meaning I went all out on grooming and training and developing myself to become the person that I wanted to become. And what happened is that translated to execution. That translated to my business being more successful, my brand expanding, everything that I was a part of growing and flourishing. And while nothing's perfect, that started attracting similar types of people to where someone on that same caliber, if I have a conversation or I meet them, they show like instant respect. And it's not necessarily we're always going to be immediate friends, but that's how you start attracting the right people. When you're your most authentic self, you're not wasting time with the wrong people. And then you've embodied the right characteristics that you want to attract. And then attracting, keeping, and retaining the right people in your life becomes something that's so natural that your life flourishes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. As always, you can find me on all my social media channels at Grant Mitt. Also, if you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, startup founder, or you want to scale what you're doing, we are accepting 5 more people to work with one-on-one for the next 6 months. If you look in the description below, if you're on Spotify, it'll be in the description below. Same thing for YouTube and Apple. There'll be a link, grantmittcoaching.com. You hit that link, there'll be an application and a portion to actually schedule a call. It is by approval basis only. So if you guys want to apply, hit that link below. Other than that, hope to see you guys again for episode 96. Thanks, guys.